Welcome. We meet at the very front of April 2024. So to discuss our forthcoming very great solar eclipse in Aries. Now, not all eclipses are created equally. This is a significant, a powerful turning point for all of humanity. So although there's plenty of excitement around this eclipse being observable here in the northern United States, that's not why I'm particularly excited. This we can call our great Chiron solar eclipse. This is the opportunity for all of us to know, understand, live, and experience the power and the potential of the Centaur planet Chiron. So when I say the solar eclipse on April 8th is exactly conjunct Chiron, it is exactly down to the hair sliver solar arc minute, exactly conjunct Chiron. This north node is also on the north. The solar eclipse is also on the north node of the moon, indicating there's new experiences, changing of directions, and then recalculations, redirections that can continue to unfold as this solar eclipse is going to set the direction, the precedent, the theme for the forthcoming 6 months. Today, April 1st, happy April Fool's Day, Mercury appropriately stations retrograde. Will be retrograde under the forthcoming solar eclipse as well. So here again is this indication of where we thought we were going to go. There can certainly be some redirection taking place. Now, why is Chiron important? This whole video is going to get into the depth, the meaning, the potential, so you can make the very best of this solar eclipse, which is going to, across the board, include the whole process of what Chiron is and means for each and every one of us in highly unique ways. So you may be experiencing some anxiety, you may be experiencing some tension, you may even be feeling a little bit queasy. That's the collective these days, as this solar eclipse is going to initiate highly unique healing journeys per each and every individual. So the collective's going to feel a scramble. Like, oh my gosh, this again, and I am missing these things, and I need these things. And again, it's happening for each and every one of us on a highly unique level. All right, so it's useful to know what house 19 degrees Aries is in your chart, or what planets are aspecting this solar eclipse. You can get lessons on Chiron in my Astro School. I can take a look at your chart and answer questions in my next Q&As. So check out the Rasa Leela community for all of that. I will also be offering my lessons on Chiron 50% off through the month of April. This is such important information to know. If you're not familiar with your natal Chiron or what healing journey that implies throughout your life, please be sure to check out that information in my store. It's extraordinarily valuable information. To be honest, there's no modern astrologers I take too seriously that is not looking at Chiron. Chiron is such an important, such a useful indicator in the heavens, in our birth charts, and certainly reflected through the transits right now. Despite Chiron being discovered only in the 70s, this is actually one of the most important places we can look in the chart. That's because my focus and intention is healing. The name of this channel is not Rasa Leela Astrology, but Rasa Leela Healing, and that is intentional. The two Sanskrit words, Ras meaning beauty or aesthetic, Leela meaning divine dance, and then healing is actually implying that all of life is a beautiful divine dance of healing. That being said, much of what we'll discuss today, some of these pearls of wisdom coming straight from Chiron, also is this wisdom of life itself not being perfect, not being finished, not being complete. And boy, we can have a sense of that because the solar eclipse is going to initiate a process for each and every one of us. We can look at where Chiron is in our chart, and that's first of all going to be the initiation of this process where we have wounding experiences, period. Where we have experiences of trauma or shutdown or brokenness, where we see Chiron in our natal chart, first of all, that's where we get initial experiences of woundedness. That births our whole lives journey in many respects. All of our relationships, all of our future interactions, it's not meaningless. To be totally honest, most of our life is healing from childhood. And that's not complaining or accidental. That's the actual setup of life itself. We're healing intergenerational trauma, generation through generation, through the mirror of relationship. So guess what our relationship's largely for? It's there to heal our childhoods. And then we reflect back at these initial wounding experiences. The mythos of Chiron is he's an immortal who gets hit in the hoof, being a centaur, with the poison dart, cannot die and so suffers immensely, struggles to research the entire planet, finding all of the world's best medicines, and becomes the master teacher. Chiron is the master teacher in Greek mythos. He teaches Achilles and all of these heroes through all of the medicines he has cultivated, attempting to end his own suffering. And the end of Chiron's life, much like Jesus Christ's, is a sacrificial being liberated from this suffering. But this is the core mythos of Chiron, is where we are broken is where the light enters. What we were not given in the past is what we can actually give. But not only that, in a very medicinal, profoundly inspiring way. That's the actual truth, wisdom of Chiron. Again, one of the most useful placements to look at in anyone's birth chart. Because this is going to be a delicate area. Those wounds don't just disappear. This is what we're healing throughout our life. But what comes out of this healing process are the actually greatest medicines that we can cultivate. So even the phrase wounded healer, now associated to the centaur planet Chiron, was first coined by the great psychotherapist Carl Jung to describe the phenomenon where somehow certain therapists were just driven to take care of their clients. And they were able to help their clients in incredibly profound ways that other therapists were not able to do. And what Carl Jung identified is that the wounded healers were the healers. And it's almost in relation or proximity to how much suffering we've survived or experienced is our range, is our depth to be able to meet someone else in their own pain or their suffering. So this is some of the real wisdom of Chiron. There's been a case study done by Martin Lass, who wrote a fantastic book on Chiron. Chiron has a highly elliptical orbit, sometimes very close to Earth and melts, then gets farther away and freezes. And when Chiron's closer to Earth, he moves faster. More people go through more Chiron transits in a condensed amount of time, which means more healing crises in a condensed amount of time. When such time periods happen, global compassion also increases. So there's some hidden blessings and, even divine humor when it comes to Chiron is, where we feel cursed can turn into hidden blessings. Similarly, where some people feel blessed, some people have too much comfort, some people have too much provided for them. They're not really able to have that range or depth to really impress, impact, or inspire another heart. Okay, so each and every one of us, profound ways, small ways, we have to honor this healing journey. And this eclipse in Aries is really going to shine a ray of awareness on where this journey is taking us throughout our life. Now we can start to talk about this specific eclipse because this is Chiron in Aries. So this is also a specific healing journey. When we're talking about Chiron in Aries, the wounds that we can all be addressing and healing right now has to do with the confidence to be ourselves. Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, you could say, is Mars, the sword that severs and separates us from our mothers by cutting the umbilical cord. Okay, so we become an individual through the cutting, the separating, and the individuating of Aries. But in order to do that, we have to get to that confidence. There may be inadequacies, fears, uncertainties. This is the right thing to do, or am I, being too extreme? Where is this coming from? We're going through this healing process to come back to fundamental self-trust. The capability to lead, to initiate. The self-trust of our own Aries gut or animal instinct. Okay, we're talking a lot about instincts, reactions, and actions. Actions, reactions. And we have to honor these reactions. We're talking about triggers with Chiron in Aries. There is a gut punch experience. We're getting knocked off our horse. There's maybe subtle or large repetitions of past wounding experiences. But it can be a trigger. It may be a subtle or a small thing on the surface that brings this reminder of this deeper wounding experience and healing journey that's already taken place in the past. This is why this Aries eclipse can also have so much to do with the emotion of anger. Anger is actually an extraordinarily complex phenomena in consciousness. So even anger needs to be broken down and understood. There's no one size fits all when it comes to anger. There's different types of anger. But generally speaking, anger is a protective, defensive emotion. Anger is a pushing away, it's a getting the fuck away, it's a cutting the cords of. And even a healing through separation can be very marked with this solar eclipse in Aries, where we're healing out of these lifetimes, generations, pastimes of codependency, over-merging, over-sacrificing, losing ourself to the other or to the people-pleasing or he said, she said. It doesn't matter now. This healing of confidence may lead a huge amount of us into what may feel like a desert wander experience. In order to heal the confidence to trust our own instincts and carving our own path forward and carving our own unique direction, we may not know what that direction is, especially with Mercury stationing retrograde on April Fool's Day, and will be retrograde during this eclipse. There, again, is this need for redirection. What we think it is now, or we think we may be going right now, there's certainly so much possibility for change. And the solar eclipse is going to initiate this next 6 months of layer after layer after layer falling off. The old fears, insecurities, and that, misappraisals of self and other. And that's to come back to ourself. Chiron in Aries can be an actual crises of will, including the will to live, including our excitement or our libido or our physical fundamental energy, as certainly the solar eclipse highlights all themes to do with physical healing. So there's quite a lot of people that are going to be going through surgeries under this solar eclipse in Aries in the forthcoming 6 months, because something gets cut out, Mars, eliminated, separated. And this is going to be true symbolically or literally. Something needs to be removed. Something's getting in the way of us being full of ourself in a healthy way. There is a phantom limb. Something has been suppressed. Something's been put on the back burner. Something's been cut off or cast to the side. Now, what happens when you're on the airplane and you fall asleep and your leg falls asleep for 6 hours? It's not usually a comfortable feeling. We wake up and it's like, uh-oh, we got pins and needles, and it's like that limb needs to become reconnected. That feeling of the limb fell asleep is not enough blood circulation through that limb. So the crises, Chiron, that can be initiating the healing journey, Chiron, to cultivating powerful medicines, Chiron, can be in regards to how do we get back to that will to live? What's going to bring more energy, more excitement back to ourselves? And we're going to find ourselves maybe at the start of this eclipse season getting all triggered and worried, and maybe 6 months from now, we're jumping out of airplanes. We're bungee jumping. We're climbing mountains. That's what Aries loves to do. Aries has a need for adrenaline and excitement and momentum and what's new and what's different. So at first, we may not know how to get there. At first, there needs to be a number of arrows shot at the target. And just like I say, it's not failure, it's feedback. When arrows miss the target just as much as when they hit the target. We're also learning about these highly individual needs. Again, anger can come up without knowing why we are angry. So when it comes to anger, the thing to really honor is the need for peace. Peace means we go from being on top of each other to separation. I know this isn't the history of the peace sign, but look at that. Separation in order for there to even be peace. Okay? So when we're so cluttered on top of each other, we don't know what we want. So we're wandering through the desert And then it's everybody else, their needs. There can be anger, there can be reactivity. It can be nearly an allergic reaction response. That's this Chiron in Aries. In some way, shape, or form, we're all having allergic response. Chiron's like when you go to a cheap restaurant, get food poisoning, and spend the whole evening purging those toxins into the toilet. These aren't necessarily the periods we look forward to the most. Not comfy, but serves a very important endeavor. We're eliminating toxins from our system. We tend to feel a lot better afterwards. These are markedly observable truths when you study astrology and study Chiron transits. You go through the discomfort, you puke it all out, you eliminate those toxins. What has been getting in the way? The misappraisals of self and other, not knowing what we want, not giving permission to ourselves to go after what we want. There can be this experience of I can't, right? I'm too old now, or I have this physical disability, or I don't have the energy or resources. That's going to be the initial crises, initiating the healing journey. The I can't is not the end. The I can't for this particular eclipse is the beginning. Okay, so all of love is a dance of union and separation. If you do not have enough separation, it doesn't mean just intimate partnerships, all relationships. If you don't have enough separation, love will stagnate. The divine dance of Rasa Leela, if we want to get to healing, requires a movement between union and separation. This is what allows for love to grow. We are not the same. We have to honor each other's differences. There's a need for separation. And when we go our separate ways, we become liberated as ourselves. Then we're more capable of loving self and other. Okay, so guess what? We also have to heal our own inadequacy, feeling bad around selfishness. This is the be selfish eclipse. There's so many stigmas from society, from culture, also around gender. I speak to a majority female audience. One of the most common themes for Chiron and Aries for women is early childhood experience where it's like, sorry, you're in a female body. Boys are the leaders. They're the ones playing sports. You got to be nice. You got to be nice and pretty, all sugar and spice. And it's like, hell no. This is the gladiator eclipse. This is about coming back to our power. It's about coming back to our physicality as much as it may begin with this gut punch. So solar eclipse in Aries, no rest, no stopping, no standing. There can be exhaustion. There are hurdles and obstacles to overcome. As we are overcoming those hurdles and obstacles, we are becoming stronger. Oh yeah, it's so marked in this eclipse because we're also getting stronger with Saturn. Mars ruling this eclipse, joining Saturn in Pisces at the moment of this eclipse. Okay, so we're getting stronger. Saturn knocks us down, get back up on your horse. Get knocked down, get back up on your horse. Obstacles get thrown in our way, having to hop over those obstacles. We can be breaking in North Node solar eclipse, a new momentum, going back to the gym, reprioritizing our health, retreating our psychic tentacles back in, been too spread out, been getting out spread too thin, getting drained. Okay, time to bring it back, time to reprioritize. This allergic reactive response in some way, shape, or form is going to make it nearly a choiceless thing. What are you going to live in an environment that you're allergic to? You're going to stay in a relationship that you're allergic to? You're just going to be sick for the rest of your life? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So even if we don't know what we need now, which is actually quite likely, we're going to get informed of what does not work. So let me give you another analogy. This one comes straight from my grandfather out of his body. So thanks, Grandpa. He's like, you know what? Tell the folks, play golf. What do you do when you play golf? You hit the ball where you want it to go generally. Hey, there's the flag. I'm going to hit the ball over there. And then where does the ball go? It goes into a sand trap. It goes into the rough. It goes into the freaking woods. And wherever that damn ball goes, you got to follow that ball. And then what do? It's just another shot at it. We're taking shot after shot after shot. Where do we want to go? Well, generally, we want to go towards the green. I think it's over there. Okay, psh, there it goes, and bam, we're in another sand trap. Okay, now we're in the sand trap. Hit after hit where we want to go, but we're leaving these old environments. I don't think that we want to stay in the sand trap, right? So even if it takes a few shots, we're going to get out of that sand trap. Chiron requires a huge amount of self-forgiveness, flexibility, and this is the key, honoring, because the only way we can heal is to honor ours and others' healing paths, which is going to be unique for everybody. There is no correct way to heal. There is no correct pace. There's no time limit. This is all a part of our self-discovery. Gotta speak to it. Healing for men. The wound of the man. Gotta speak to this because, boy, we're gonna see this out in the world. This is about healing masculinity. Mars, Aries, okay? So this is a little bit more complex than just, hey, men be wounded and men be scary. We're going to see that. We're going to see the depth of this. This is about healing masculinity. So I wanted to share that it's important to understand that this healing is happening regardless of gender. And there's lots of gender stigma repairing as we're healing our total unique individuality. It has not been a man's world, despite all of the rules, regulations, culture, society, for the most part, being very patriarchal, going back thousands of years. The prejudice, the enslavement, the blaspheming of the female gender is almost as history as we know it for the most part. So the 10 years that I've spoken to a mostly female audience, this is what we know. This is what we understand. But I also want to inject more about the healing journey for men. Because we know how wounded women have been through all this mistreatment, and now women are healing by reclaiming their masculinity. Rosie the Riveter. You're not waiting for a man to choose you. You lead, you initiate. You're the gladiator. You're the badass soul. That's a huge part of this divine balancing act. Women reclaiming their masculinity. Men are healing their masculine too, but what I wanted to share here that does not get mentioned enough is the actual male crises, which is men have no identity. Men have no identity. If women are reclaiming their identity by getting empowered through reclaiming their masculine, how are men healing their identity? It's for most of us a crisis. It's a question mark. This is why the suicide rate for men is very high, and men tend to hide and don't know how to emotionally communicate. Most of us are raised to suppress our emotions. Women generally, the culture, the stigma is, hey, women can be expressive. Women are allowed to have, sadness, whereas men, that's weak. So we get anger issues from a very young age. It's quite common for men. That's wound. That's not real. That's not what it means to be a man, right? So men don't even have an identity. Most of us grew up watching action movies, right? And superhero movies as if that's what it means to be a man. And then when we fail being that, what are we? What's next? If we're not gladiators and just fighting the wars and working the factories, who am I, So this is, again, going to play out very much through gender. We're healing gender stigmas, stereotypes, prejudices on all counts, on all sides of the fence. But certainly we could say this is a healing of core masculinity. Or I'd rather use the words yin and yang. This is about healing our yang. What does yang do? Goes out, initiates, acts, brings into reality, manifests. And what begins with the I can't with this eclipse joined Chiron will initiate us into the superpowers of yes, we can. So it begins as a gut punch, getting knocked down, the triggers of reaction, the old stories repeating that's informing us of those old stories that need to change. Why else would the anger or the frustration be there? This is something that we're having an allergic response to. The healing that's going to initiate with this solar eclipse, but take us through the forthcoming 6 months, is you got to move. You got to separate. You got to get to high ground. Or you got to dare to do something bigger, to do something different, to act, to listen to those reactions. What are those most fundamental needs? How can we get back on our horse? Yeah. So reality. Rasa Lila healing. Reality is all of life is for healing. There really is no quote unquote perfection. There is no finish line. There is no completion. If we set ourselves up for delusion or self-deception, pretending that we're there, when in fact that does not exist, well, we're just going to create crises after crises that's actually attempting to slingshot us into that healing journey. The healing journey is all of life itself. The people that we meet, the relationship to our parents, how that unfolds into the rest of our life, what we do for our career, how much that's honoring our soul's truth versus how much that was pre-programmed conditioning from parent, society, culture. This is all needing to get separated out. There's like a clusterfuck of all this stuff that's knotted together, and we've just got to breathe some space in. Start to look at those parts and pieces so we can start to move stuff around, start to wiggle around that knot, and then start to get it to unball itself, to start moving, and then we're going to start to find much more of a momentum and a divine flow as these forthcoming months unfold. Now, folks, this is a profound eclipse. I know there's going to be plenty of things I wish I said, but I'm going to cap it here. I'd rather keep it short, sweet, and, highlight the most important parts. That being said, it's going to be an exciting month to come. Much more to discuss. And if you would like to join us and share your own healing process, that is what the Rasa Leela community is for. This is a support group for intentional-minded folks that are aware of their woundedness, aware of their healing journey, to seek the support of astrology, to get some feedback from myself, but also to support one another in each our own highly unique healing crises, journey of discovering medicines, and coming full circle into the gifted and wise teachers and healers that we were born to be. But we weren't born to be that having it served on a silver platter. We were born to be that in an unfolding, in a self-discovery. So again, the flexibility, the forgiveness, give heaping spoonfuls of that to yourself and others as we poke each other's buttons, as we trigger each other's pasts, as we have this anger and reaction going back and forth, to self-discover, to pioneer, to pull out that sword of Aries and Mars and carve our path forward. Even if we don't totally know where we're going, we're trusting our gut instincts. I don't know why I'm being called in this direction. So it begins. I wish you the very best and looking forward to speaking to you next time. Wait, one more thing. Hit subscribe, hit that button. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel. YouTube algorithms are not always fun or pleasant, so people let me know, hey, I'm not seeing your work. Well, subscribe. Come back to this channel. I'm posting videos 2 times a month, so if you're not seeing them, that's a problem. I am here, and I will continue to be here. Fingers crossed. Much love to you all.